Good afternoon, my friends. How are you doing? We've got a storm here in Switzerland, so I'm in the cellar of serenity, not in the shed today. Well, in this video I wanted to actually explore old radio shows, and if you like it as I do, this could be useful for some channels and help you to find that beautiful music or those radio plays and from the 1940s, for example. That is my favorite period, the 40s and 50s. Housekeeping, as you see, I'm smoking my Ukraine Sherlock Holmes, hand-carved. There's a link below where you can probably get this pipe, 9mm, and I've smoked it once or twice. It's really good and absolutely beautiful at the same time. And in it I have Peterson's Sherlock Holmes, as that's part of the subject today, as radio plays. And this is a lovely burley Virginia with a citrus topping, and the Virginias are quite exotic, partly from India, I think, and Africa, and makes actually a very enjoyable smoke, something different. And anyone who has not tried this, I would suggest to try it if you like. The topping is not overpowering the tobaccos, so you can get it pretty well everywhere. It looks like this tin is in my shed as tin art, so I dried it up, of course. And for a tamper, I've got this beautiful Sherlock Holmes from Larry Blackett, and this is the dark stained one, but it's really beautiful and a lovely tamper. And of course the lighter is a Sherlock Holmes, which I customise with this 50p Sherlock Holmes commemorative coin from the UK, so makes it really special. Now I will cover a number of channels which are offering these old radio plays and music, and basically I've got them all on my playlist, and there are 3 links below for different playlists, and one is the radio plays and music, and the second one is retro, which means vintage music, largely from records and things like that, and the third one, the playlist, is Sherlock Holmes, and that is where the radio plays and some feature films are offered as well. So you can find everything I'm going to talk about in those links below. Most of my playlists are open to everybody, so there's just 1 or 2 that I've marked private. I'm wearing today my jacket from one of the channels, News of Ukraine, and he has a shop, and you could buy cardigans and things like this and hoodies. I put a link, his channel. It's one of the 3 channels I look for updates of Ukraine. So let's start with radio plays about the adventures of Sherlock Holmes, and I listen continually to these plays and always slowly find another play that I never heard of, or different actors are playing the role. And what I really love is the banter from Harry Bartell, this man, and with Dr. John Watson, and that's great to listen to. And here it is.
This episode from the life of Sherlock Holmes will be transmitted to our men and women overseas by shortwave and through the worldwide facilities of the Armed Forces Radio Service. Petri Wine brings you Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce in the new adventures of Sherlock Holmes. The Petri family, the family that took time to bring you good wine, invite you to listen to Dr. Watson tell us another exciting story about his old friend, that master detective, Sherlock Holmes.
One of the advantages of a time traveler is that you can do some shopping. And that message from our sponsor, Petri Wine. Of course, I couldn't resist getting a bottle when I was back in 1947, and I must say it's a very good wine. If you think the wine industry of California was beginning large production, and they did a good job. Cheers, everyone. Lovely. Cabernet Sauvignon, no, the Zinfandel, this one. I got also some of their Burgundy and port wine, of course, 6 bottles. And some Roma wine, which also sponsored some of the radio plays, but that's another video, I think. So Sherlock Holmes, the feature films, you can find on the channel called Feature Film. This one. Here will all the avatars, I will show the channel, and you can find them in my playlist that I mentioned. Now, of course, videos are always changing and being scrubbed sometime depending on copyright things, so at the moment they have a lot of feature films to look at, and that's the first one I go to find an old film with Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce, who are the famous actors from Sherlock Holmes and Dr. John Watson. Now, there were other actors. For example, Tom Conway. He was the brother of George Sanders, and he had a fantastic voice, just like Basil Rathbone, and that's why they used him. Another one was John Stanley and Ben Wright. They did all Sherlock Holmes. So depending on the radio play or what you're listening to, it could be one of these other actors. And Watson was played by Nigel Bruce, of course, but Joseph Kearns, Alfred Shirley, and Ian Martin and Eric Snowden. So sometimes you find these other names for the American productions. So of course some of radio plays and also TV series were made in Britain. So I'll discuss that as well. But the other channels you can find these radio plays are, another one is Classic Treasures, this one, and the third one is the Sherlock Holmes radio show, that one, Old Man Radio, Radio Ghost, and Spellbinders of Suspense, this one. So with those channels you'll have a very good chance to find pretty well everything Sherlock Holmes, and some of those channels have of course a lot of other plays which are great to listen to. So I can tell you, with a pipe and a glass of wine and radio play, you're never alone. it's just so entertaining and so enjoyable. So we come on to other radio plays, and my interest is science fiction and ghost stories mainly, but I listen occasionally to some detective stories and thrillers and crime plays as well. So you'll find all of that selection in these channels. Number one is the Late Horror Show. You probably know it, this one. CBS Radio Mystery Theatre, which E.G. Marshall is fantastic, and of course a lot of channels overlap and they take the same CBS Radio Mystery on their channel, but it's very rich with selection. You always find something there. The quality of recording can vary, so it's worth checking other channels to get the best quality. Chesterton Radio is number 3. Radio Dramas Ye Old Archive. New Thinkable. Now New Thinkable does audio books a lot, but they do some radio plays as well. Hearth and Home Entertainment. Make sure you're smoking Hearth and Home tobacco when you listen to that. Great Detective of Old Time Radio. That's also a good channel. Vintage radio programs. It's good as well. The Edge of Nightfall has, of course, a lot of ghost stories as well. Thinking Out Louder, that's a new one I found. An Evening of Old Time Radio. And the last one is Spellbinders of Suspense. And they have some of those CBS Sherlock Holmes stories as well. So with those channels you find a wider topic choice for your entertainment, but certainly ghost stories and sci-fi and Sherlock Holmes as well. So the third playlist I come to is retro. If you look on that, a lot of old music is on that playlist, and here are the channels I focus on. Now these lists are not exhaustive. You'll find one or two channels that I don't mention, but these are the main ones. And recently I found a channel called Grandma Hour, and it's fantastic. Beautiful, beautiful. If you like romantic and classic 40s and 50s and 30s as well. It's absolutely fantastic. Jake Westbrook, this one is a very good channel, and he has wonderful music. Atticus Jazz, it's of course mainly jazz, but the Boswell sisters are on that channel, and it's nothing to do with Boswell blends and tobacco, but it should be somehow, because they're both beautiful. Leo Taurus, 1975. He has a lot of wonderful music as well, and I've mentioned this next one in a previous video, Nemo Dreamscapes, and he does music from the next room, and it's just lovely to watch it, but it's very strict on copyright, so don't use it for your videos. Senior Sänger is actually a German channel, but it's got a lot of classic German music from Rudi Schuriker, which I just is absolutely fantastic, and if you have some German or you like that kind of music, have a look at it. It's absolutely classic. Past Perfect Vintage Music adds to the selection, and Lupo Soul 66. I mention this because Lester Lannan is on that channel, and Lester Lannan kind of made dance music out of popular songs in the 50s and 60s, and it's absolutely, if you like to dance, put Lester Lannan on and you can dance to anything. I'm not a good dancer, but I can manage it with that music. And anyway, his name is Lester, and we're a rare species, so I had to include that. 70 RPM Night Barn Owl. That's a new one I found, and it's got a lot of selections of 78 shellac records, which is basically pre-1962. Is when they started to do vinyl records, and so by definition of technology it's retro. Conceptually Yours. This is a recent find for me, and it's romantic music from the 40s and 70s, and it's romantic music from the 40s and 50s, and it's absolutely beautiful and very good recording. So my friends, I hope you enjoyed that brief visit to memory lane, and you'll find in those channels something for you as well, a soothing experience with your pipe and your glass of if not Petri wine, then another one. And you will notice the intro music and the exit music is Benny Goodman, Sing Sing Sing, and I found a channel that actually their own performance gives them the right to not apply copyright, so I've added this video. And if you like to dance, this is written in the 1930s, and it's far ahead of its time, and it's still really fantastic. So here's Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers going out to that music.